My plan is to create a video for each class, exploring their unique mechanics and playstyles alongside with tips and build to follow through. The idea is to list some of the best combo per build and to analyze what are the best and worst passive spells to go for depending of your run. Get ready because we're starting with what I consider the most well-rounded class of them all, the Druid. You unlock the Druid by finishing up the crater, which is the upper zone in the desert. It comes with a bird that you can control, and its global playstyle is centered around supporting the team with healing, buffs, but also summoning. Its basic attack is a group heal that also gives damages to your team. Now if we look into the bird, this little guy is affected by every stat your Druid is running. So if you build a lot of strength and constitution, then you will have a great bulky bird dealing more than 10 damages with its basic attack. The bird gets fully healed up after a fight, even if it died, so you should use it as a sponge every fight. It has to take damages for you. Now, having a solid bird is mandatory for a successful run. I recommend having a colorless cat with at least 7 in constitution to reach 5 with the color. This way, your bird will have 20 HP minimum. Top it up with a good strength and some intelligence, and you will have a mobile bird with some serious damage potential. In terms of stats, I recommend going for strength, constitution, intelligence, charisma, a bit of movement, and a bit of luck if possible. Everything but dexterity, basically. If you have an item or mutation that influence your basic attack, like this item I have giving bleed to it, then it will be applied to both Druid and Bird's basic attack. So this bleed item sounds perfect for the bird, but it's actually terrible for the Druid and its basic attack because it will just apply bleed to all of your cats. Since you want the bird to deal good damages and the Druid to support the team, you will struggle to find an item that pleases both. Except if you're running Versatile Vocalist, which is one of the most busted passive on Druid. It allows you to heal allies without giving them debuff on top of damaging enemies without giving them buff. In this solo run, I managed to combine Versatile Vocalist with Encore, allowing me to spam the basic attack while healing and buffing my allies, but bleeding and damaging the enemies. It was completely insane. I managed to defeat the whole first act with that build without even thinking on what to do each fight. Now, Druid is often compared to Cleric as they are both healers, but to be honest with you, there isn't much of a competition between both. Cleric's supporting skills are highly dependent on the build you'll get and mostly the spells, whereas the Druid will always have the bird, and summons in tactical RPGs are super strong. The only thing that goes in favor of the Cleric is that you don't need such high stats requirement to build a strong Cleric cat. The Druid needs some good base stats as mentioned earlier. -2 constitution from the class color is annoying to build around. So to summarize it, Cleric is a great support healing class in early game, and Druid is just the upgraded version with way much more potential. I'd say though that for Act 2 in the desert in your first runs there, the Cleric is amazing. But to understand how powerful this class is, it's important to talk about the board advantage. In tactical RPG, having the board under control is mandatory to mitigate damages and approach the next fight in peace. When you play Druid, you might have less healing options than the Cleric, but your summons will take more damages than anyone else. At the end of a fight, if you compare how much a Cleric would heal and how much a Druid would heal plus tank with its summon, you will see that the Druid is a clear winner every time. Having 2 characters for one, and one of them gets fully healed up at the end of each fight is a serious advantage. Again, your bird should take as many damages as possible, and I'm not even talking about other summons yet. Because the Druid in Mewgenics is one of those classes that really rewards flexibility. You can't plan a fixed build ahead of time, it's a roguelike after all, but you can adapt your choices depending on what spells and passives shows up. The Druid's gimmick is all about music, musical spells and passive that interact with each other. You will recognize musical spells by the little music note icon, and they're the key to triggering some of the stronger synergies the Druid has. Take Encore for example. It refreshes your basic attack every time you use a musical ability. That's how some runs ended up with spamming basic attacks as a main source of DPS. Now, rather than talking about builds, I like to think of the Druid as having 3 playstyles that overlap and evolve during a run. Support, Summoner, and Shapeshifter. You'll often end up blending parts of each depending on what the game hands you. Let's start with support-style Druids because that's actually the easiest direction to pivot into if you find early musical spells. The first thing to look out for is Inspirational Song. It's basically the foundation of most music-based combo. Its browser version, you can have Safety Dance or Serenade, work in similar ways but cost 1 extra mana. If you pick one of these, aim to collect passives that support your musical abilities. As mentioned before, Encore is fantastic for action loops, but Maestro also deserves a shot. It makes all your musical spells cost 50% less mana, meaning you can sustain your rotation for much longer. You don't actually need both Encore and Maestro. In most cases, one strong enabler like that paired with a more healing focused passive works better. That's where options like Love Song or Rap God comes in. Both valuable for your healing and buffs, with Love Song being slightly stronger once upgraded since it turns temporary damage bonuses into permanent ones. For more flexible options, Buddy System and Super Crow are both incredible. They fit into nearly every variant of Druid, they're reliable, impactful, and add value whether you're healing or summoning. Although I would avoid Bark Skin, Flower Power, and Good Vibrations, the first two can work in specific situations, but Good Vibration is just a very small bonus compared to what you could get. To spice it up, you might want something extra to fill up the field. Summon spells like Bear or Snake are great picks. The Bear requires you, though, a solid amount of Charisma and Intelligence, while the Snake's upgraded form reaches 60% dodge. It is surprisingly strong. The Squirrel are also really good, simple summons that contribute steady damage. It becomes amazing if you have Suicide Squad or Sneak Attack or both. If I were you, actually, I would always try to build around Squirrels because it's just so good if you align everything right. The Toad is average, mobile, but nothing crazy, and just try to skip the Turtle and the Caterpillar, as they take too long to make an impact. I had this run with a solo druid in Act 2 and I almost lost it against Lenny because my only way to damage him besides the bird was my turtles, and none of them reached him out. Maybe the Caterpillar would actually do good in solo runs, I haven't tried it yet. Now, if the game is giving you mostly summons, passive and spells, you should consider a few things to build your cat right. There is two approaches to summons. The first route is the swarm approach. Fill the field with multiple small summons, squirrels for example, and combine that with Suicide Squad or Sneak Attack, or even both as I mentioned earlier. You'll have waves of creatures that rush in, explode, and deal massive multi-hit damage. It's more of a DPS build than a support because none of your minions will survive and tank damages, but it can reach absurd amount of damage dealt. The other version of the summoner style is more about board control with bulky companions. Big, tanky summons that can keep pressure on enemies while you heal, buff, or spam musical spells from the backline. Here, passives like Mega Minions are game changers, especially after upgrading. Your bird becomes a champion first turn of a fight, and trust me, a bird champion can carry entire fights. Empty Vessel is another huge one, providing sustain and extra durability, and if you manage to find Super Friend, it's great only when you got 2 or more summon spells active. For adding damage on top of all of that, the passives Teamwork and Animalistic do wonders. And if RNG blesses you with both Form of the Wolf and Animalistic or Wild Style, then congratulations, you've basically created a hybrid beast that will carry you to the end of your run without having to watch a YouTube video about it. Some passives, though, fall more in the middle ground. They're less interesting. For example, Nature's Guidance gives free Holy Shield once upgraded, nice for survivability, though it's a bit situational. Like a Fish can perform well as well if you're in a water-heavy zone or use water-related item, but it's still kinda niche. And that brings us to shape-shifting. Well, this direction is tricky to fully commit to because you're heavily reliant on luck to get the right form and the supporting passives that make it viable. Still, even a single shape-shifting spell can patch holes in your setup. Maybe you're missing damages, then you pick up a powerful form like the wolf one. Maybe you need frontline presence, go for something tanky like the turtle. The catch is that shape-shifting overrides your basic attack, so if your team is relying on your healing, it can be risky. But that said, when it works, it really works. Form of the Wolf combined with Encore or Animalistic can turn the Druid into one of the strongest damage dealers in the game. In general, you want to think of shape-shifting as the cherry on top, the finishing touch that enhances your current setup, rather than the foundation you build around from the start. It's reactive, but that's part of what makes it fun. Finally, a few must-have items no matter how your run develops. The Cleric Hat, which gives +2 to your heals. This one is great at any moment given. The Mushroom Confusion Hat, which gives you summons a chance to inflict confusion on each attack, perfect for builds with a lot of small summons. Then any active summoning item like the Whistle or Lil Kitty can work and combo while you're waiting for a more reliable summoning spells. And of course, defensive gear that adds protection while occasionally spawning extra allies, like the Cat Hide set for example. Those are great options to go with. And now just some random gameplay tips. First of all, when playing the bird and missing a few movements to reach your enemy, use the flying move first. Don't move and then fly. You'll have more chance to miss your calculation this way, trust me. 2. You can put the AI-controlled hat on your druid. Your bird won't be affected and you'll still be able to control the bird while enjoying the +1 stats from the gear. 3. Avoid specific mutation that gives a debuff to your basic attack. For example, my spinning eyes giving a 15% chance to apply confusion are not usable with the druid. Number 4, passive. Buffing the summons like Poison Ivy or Suicide Squad works on your bird, but passives that requires you to use a spell like Super Friend or Sneak Attack do not apply on your already summoned bird. And finally, having multiple forms is possible, but remember your most recently used form determines your basic attack, so be wary of the order to end up the fight with the basic attack you wanted. So, to wrap it up, the druid is a complete powerhouse capable of carrying an entire team in many ways. Maybe you turn into a rhythm-based healer, chaining basic attacks. Maybe you summon an army of poisonous snakes and explosive toads. Or maybe you shapeshift into a wolf and tear up the battlefield yourself. You can almost never go wrong with the druid. That's why if I had to give it a rank, it would be S rank. And if this was a tier list, it would be all the way up to #1 spot in this game. Although I'd still have to push a little bit my research about the monk, as it seems to be the only contender to the druid in Mewgenics. That's it for the druid. Feel free to share your best druid combo in the comment of this video and stay tuned for another class video coming soon. I'm thinking about the psychic, as it seems to be the one most people struggle with. What do you guys think?